Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Today we'll try to understand Linux, what is Linux and how these things are working.
Shankar, can you share once again? Shankar, your voice is also not coming and your screen is also not visible.
Am I audible now?
Your voice is there, but screen still not visible.
Is the screen is visible now?
Now it's okay.
Okay, I'll try to open it. Yeah, my notepad is visible, right, to everyone.
Yeah, yes.
So, like today we'll try to see the Linux itself. So basically, do anyone has any idea about Linux? What is this? How it has been working? Or what anyone knows anything about this? No. Okay. So basically, Linux is one thing like it, let us take you have a system, okay, anything, and like you want to run this kind of things. Like we need an operating system, right? Operating system. Let us forget about the Linux and everything. So basically, people say Linux is an operating system, right? So, what is an operating system on a general terms? An operating system is something where you'll try to operate that particular system, a system or a device. So it can be a laptop, it can be a washing machine, or it can be an AC or anything. So any particular thing which is a system, let us take this is a system, and okay, and this can be anything, device or any device. So this can be car or anything. So we need particular operating system in order to operate this device. That one we will call it as an operating system. So basically here Linux is one of the operating system. But like how do you have Windows, right? In Windows you'll have Windows XP and Windows 10 and 11, all of these things you'll have, right? These were all of the particular operating system things. Like you need to install some or the other things in order to run your device. So any particular thing, if you have laptop, you need to install any of your things. Directly laptop will not be understanding anything. So system can understand only plus and minus and this modulus and multiplication. Even this would be understandable by operating system. That's it. So you'll have particular uh, this is an hardware. So in order like inside your hardware, you'll have your kernel. Okay, this is hard disk. First one is hard disk, and second one is all of your kernel, and third one is all of your sorry, like the top level one is the like what you see, you can give your commands in order to interact. This one I'll try to write generally. uh, so user level commands you'll try to tell. So whenever you request some or the other things directly, I want this file, try to open this anything, it will not get directly executed. Your commands will be going into the particular things. Okay, it tries and goes and speaks with all of your kernel, sorry, operating system. And operating system internally speaks with all of your kernel, and further it goes and speaks with your hardware. So generally system will have hardware, right? So you understood, right? This one a device in order to run any particular things, not only anything like car or anything, flight or anything, and it is kind of an engine, like a device. Like kernel is nothing but, generally people say kernel is nothing but a heart of an operating system. It is nothing but a main component of all of your operating system, which helps us in order to run all of your this particular system. It can be an operating system for all of your laptop or your mobile or anything. So kernel is something which is a very important aspect in order to run all of your systems. That one will try to call it as like, for example, if you want to run any particular operating system, like you, let us, you want to make an operating system by your own self and you want to manage the things. So I'll try to write operating system is nothing but a software. Okay, software is nothing but set of programs that you'll try to use. Okay, programs that you'll try to use, and finally you'll build an operate any software set of programs. We'll call it as software, and you will try to build this software with this set of programs, and one final output you will make it as software, and that software is called as operating system. It only, not only an operating system. Finally, like let us take, you have uh, a car engine or something, whatever you will try to make, like let us take AC. So you'll have sensors, lot many other things. You'll try to write different set of programs in order to work that. So let us see this where separate programs, and one particular main program is your all of your kernel, and this will interact with all other subprograms, and finally we'll merge and make it as one particular software that is nothing but an operating system, which can be in your system or phone or anything. Like they'll make final output any particular things, they'll release the versions as alpha, beta, gamma, right, in all of your things for testing purposes. So they'll build that things, operating systems, like everything. So this is finally on hardware. Your system will not be able to understand what are all the basic components of your systems in order to run is, like you will have CPU, and you will have hard disk, and you will have RAM. This hard disk is nothing but we'll also call ROM. Okay. ROM is nothing but a permanent storage, and RAM is nothing but temporary storage, and NIC card. So NIC card, network interface card, which you'll, whenever you want to connect with all of your internet or anything, you need this. So these were all of the basic particular components which you need in order to run your particular system. Okay, and CPU is the main component, which is nothing but central processing unit. So whenever I say I'll try to open this file explorer, or I'll try to run particular Windows command. So what it does is it internally, whenever you give your keyboard inputs, it goes and speaks finally and it gives you output. So this CPU will process all of your requests. Within fraction of seconds, it gives you all of your output. So major component is all of your, if you have i3 processor, and if you have i5 processor, and if you have i7 processor, or you will have Ryzen processor, or you can have whatever the processor, depending upon this particular processor, you'll have all of your clock speed. Let us say this is my PC. and you'll have properties. See, 8 GB of RAM, 2.4 this clock speed. So all of this will be included in order to process your speed. I don't want to go in detail, but these were all of your Intel things, Intel company. You'll have other things, AMD companies, you'll have many other processor manufacturing companies, chips will be there. They'll try to take and they'll try to assemble and they'll make the things. So yeah, this is what about all of your kernel. Actually, kernel is one of your main component. Like you can assume like it leads all of your things. Like if you have any particular device and this system is insufficient of making a request of CPU processes are full completely, then you want to delete it and or stop it, everything. And hard disk is something which will try to store all of your data on a permanent node. It will try to have like HDD SSD you'll have, right? That is nothing but your things. And RAM is nothing but which generally takes you, it makes your system faster, people think, but it will not make the system faster. Depending upon your CPU, the speed gets the processor of your CPU will tell all of your speed. And RAM is nothing but which tries to store all of your temp data. So whenever I open any notepad, anything, if you have RAM, decent amount of RAM will automatically store the things as a catchy kind of thing. If you have 8 GB of data RAM or 16 GB of RAM, it can store multiple things. If I example Chrome, for example Chrome, if I open and multiple tabs, 20 tabs, if I open, and again if I go to the 16 tab, it RAM will remember that particular tab. It will not try to load again by calling all of your requests with CPU. So yeah, it makes the person that it is faster, but yeah, you can make the things, you can do all of your work taking minimal amount of processor and RAM as well in a huge node and make your system faster. So this is kernel is nothing but your central processing, like how your everything, your CPU, your disk space, everything it tries to manage. So what happened is in 1991, Linux Torvalds, a person uh, who had made this particular kernel on an open fashion. He released that into an open thing. Before we used to have Unix, and Linux is nothing but version of Unix. So it is nothing but it is payable. Previously we used to have AIX or Solaris or whatever. So multiple, if I have Lenovo laptop, we used to have only Lenovo OS. We need to have something, an operating system which only that hardware dependencies are there prior. So Unix, and even that Unix is payable. So multiple Lenovo will not be able to support an operating system which is being supported by Dell. In that fashion, you can assume. But yeah, in hardware independence is there in Unix, and this is payable. Huge. In those days itself, Linux Torvalds has purchased around dollar rate of 4,500 to 5,000, and he had made R&D and he has written some 10,200 plus lines and made it happen of free. So everyone, what is nothing but it is nothing but kernel is nothing but a hard kind of thing which manages, and this kernel is not open in Unix, in operating system. Even in Windows, you will try to see, right? It kernel will have source code it has, and you'll not be able to use this, like it is not open when it was in Unix. So Thomson, like some other people were also there. They clubbed their languages with Pascal and other things, and they had released made it open. And still now, even in here, like Linux Torvalds approval is needed if you want to release any particular things. So people started making use of this kernel and they started releasing n number of things, n number of operating system on a weekly note, hundreds and hundreds of operating system they used to release. They used to play with that. in those days in US in 1991 itself. So, but there were no proper support for that operating system. For example, if in Windows you have an operating system, right? Windows 10 or anything, and if you got any problems, or this is a client operating system. Actually, in Windows, you'll have servers 2012 and 2016 and 2019. All these things were servers, okay? The bugs whatever we are getting here while we are using will be reported to them in Microsoft. They'll These were all like sample versions, and they'll keep it in the servers and they'll release. Okay, because in this particular server your applications will be working, and that is the reason they'll try to release as a free versions. Even in Google Maps, mapping, like Maps is an open source for us, but in real time for Swiggy and Zomato, they'll try to give the particular API as, like for Swiggy, they'll charge like 1,000 CR I need, and you can integrate my maps. So free version, let us, I don't want to go in detail, but this is server actually. Any particular server which will have kernel, and in Microsoft it is an closed version. Windows and in Linux the kernel is open, and the kernel multiple programs were written, and they had released some decent, like some companies called Red Hat, and they released the things. You'll have a number of versions here in SUSE. You'll have Fedora. You'll have many other things like Kali Linux. We have all of these things. And graphical Ubuntu, you'll have many other things operating. These were all of your Linux flavors kind of thing. These were also every Red Hat is a Linux one, SUSE is a Linux one, Fedora is a Linux one, Kali is a Linux one, Ubuntu is a Linux one, and it is desktop as well, and you'll have other things as well. People say Linux, you'll have CLI itself, command line interface. Yeah, you'll have both the things. But basically, we'll try to use CLI because it will not consume lot much of RAM. Very kind, like secure, like what we can say is it is very to occupy very minimal amount of RAM and other things, and to work in a very faster note in all of your production environments. We'll try to use CLI itself. You can use Ubuntu as well, and this Kali we'll try to use for hacking kind of. In that context it will come, and Fedora and SUSE as well, and this Fedora CentOS you'll have. This Fedora is nothing but a testing kind of alpha, beta, gamma. Red Hat is a company which has all of these flavors. Basically, you'll have Red Hat here, and you'll have CentOS, and you'll have Fedora. Fedora is for testing itself. If I want to run any of my applications, a number of operating systems were there. You can take the kernels. Let us say, like you want to manufacture a car, you can assume an engine as a kernel, and you will purchase separate things like doors or sensors or steering or tires from different things, and you will assemble it and you will sell it. Even the market does the same, right? So like these were all of your testing kind of things, separate. They had taken the kernel from the Linux store walls, and the Linux store walls has to approve the things in order to release that particular operating system to the market. And and yeah, this need to be happen. Approval is to be taken, and further they are customizing. This Red Hat company has customized the things. So if you want to host any of your applications, and if you are writing any particular code, and that code need to be supported by this operating system. Okay, that is the reason a decent amount of Red Hat versions were released, Red Hat 8 and everything. So Red Hat can support all of your code, all of your complexities, even AI ML applications that you can host in Linux, anything that you can do. They had taken the kernel and they had written separate programs, and they are giving the support. If any of your issue that your production, your applications were not working because of this particular package dependency in all of your Linux machines, that they are trying to download and integrate with your Red Hat, and it is an paid version. And people say, like, if I want to use Linux is already free, right? It is an open source. The source code of this is already free. So why I want to pay? In the sense, the support which is being given by this company, this Fedora is an open source. If you want to test, you can talk with Red Hat company. Yeah, I'm trying to use your things. So Red Hat will say you can test all of your applications in Fedora using Fedora OS. And if everything is been working out, you can come to us and buy it. And in CentOS as well, it is not payable, but bit advanced, like alpha, beta, gamma kind of thing. And finally, if you are satisfied, you can go ahead with Red Hat. And this has been, if any particular issue, if you are addressing, they'll give you a support. Yeah, this my application is breaking because of this particular dependencies. Try to have some of the dependencies. So they'll give the support, whatever the application you are developing. So this you'll have Red Hat 6, 7, 8 and Red Hat 8 as well. And this company has been releasing the like certification exams. Like it has various wings. If you write that examination and if you clear that, market is being offered, like lot many jobs were there. Because if you clear that examination, in the sense that you are been like Red Hat professional, something that you, in the sense that Linux in a very decent note. So it can be anything, like these were all of your flavors of your Linux, and multiple operating systems are there, but Red Hat only is standing as of now in lead because they are giving the support in a decent manner. So here we'll try to understand. You got right, what is an operating system? Generally, what is an operating system in college days, we'll try to understand, right? They'll tell, teachers or ma'ams will come. An operating system is an user interface between you and your system. In the sense, operating system will act as a bridge, like whatever the instructions that you give, it will try to convert all of your binaries. I told, right, these only things will be understandable by system. It will try to compile all of your code to ASCII values will be there, binary conversions will be there, compilers, interpreters would be there, from high level to low level languages, conversions would be there. And finally, it reaches to all of your hardware, in which context your system can understand. And again, it gives back the response. Again, kernel gives back. It is not an interface between you and your system. In practically, another phase of kernel you will have, which will act as a mediocre between you and your system hardware. But yeah, on daily on usual terms, you can consider operating system is something which is nothing but user interface, like a bridge kind of medium between you and your system, which will allow you in order to interact with your hardware by converting all of your instructions from high to low and low to high. Conversions will be happen and understandable format. Again, it will try to give. So this particular Linux is on server. Okay. So this kernel is free. So Linux is completely a server which will host all of your applications. So for example, if you have any of your things, Swiggy or Zomato or Book My Show or Abibus or Redbus or any mobile applications, mobile or web or iOS or Android or in even in satellites we'll use, in sensors we'll use. Okay, wherever in lot many areas we'll use, and this is very much secure. Secure, why we will say? Because this kernel is open anyway, but the customizations which were being done by Red Hat by adding other programs, right? This is why they are charging, because developers has written some other extra components or programs and make very comfortable to adopt with any particular technology. Now Linux is comfortable with respect to Ansible. Linux is comfortable with Terraform. You can host Terraform automation scripts. It is an compatible version of Python. So even in Windows you can run the Python scripts, even in Linux you can run the Python scripts. So, but this kernel is an open, the customizations which were done on all of this top of this kernel and made, and further it is a closed one, you can say. This kernel is open, but customizations which were done on this particular things were not open. So that is the reason it is secure, they'll say, and it is faster because GUI is, and it lot many advantages were, and rebooting will happen very rarely. In Windows, like you need to reboot on a regular basis, you need to reboot all of your systems, but in Linux you can run happily all of your things for ages. So that's the reason. And any application, if you want to host, it can be mobile or it can be web, or both web and, let us assume now some applications will have web and mobile, right? You can host all of your applications, like some applications in mobile as well. You want to open those applications, and in web as well. So ultimately, in the sense, they are developing some of the code by writing. You'll have front end code. So basically, actually, you no need to learn all of these things, but normal, for normal sake, I'm telling. Yeah, this is. So let us. This is all of your web server. Web server in the sense a Linux server, and we'll try to install some of the packages. We'll not say softwares. In Windows world, we'll say as softwares, but in Linux we'll call it as packages. And this is nothing but Tomcat, or sorry, application servers. Okay, and application servers. Which here I had written, sorry. This is web server. WebSphere spell as well wrong. This WebSphere is an application server, and this is database server. And structured and unstructured databases you'll have, and this is cache kind of thing. So where you'll try to remember all of your passwords or any number of things for caching to get faster response. So everything here is a Linux itself. Okay, when you open a particular tab, and let us take anything. Flipkart login. So what you are trying to see, everything here is an UI, right? UI will be developed. UI is nothing but it is all. I mean, UI technologies will be there. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and further React.js, AngularJS, and you'll have PHP, Magento frameworks, Python, Django, everything. So you'll use this particular technologies and you'll try to develop this checkbox or anything, and you'll try to build a website, and this will not be understandable by system. So you will You'll try to install some web servers on Linux machines. So that can be Nginx or Apache package you'll try to install, and you'll try to put all of your code in that particular thing so that it works. And even in application. So whenever you click here, request OTP, your request goes and speaks with with API calls you'll have. Here you'll try to have like Tomcat, or this is as well a Linux machine. Linux entire is of Linux machine, and you will try to install some packages, some servers here. It can be Tomcat, JBoss, or WebLogic, or WebSphere, or anything. For .NET, you will try to have IS, and this one is nothing but logic kind of thing. Logic, like whenever you want to have like add to cart service, you have, right? And if I want to add 15 products at a go or 100 products at a go, you'll try to have the logic here. You'll try to change the code. Changing the code will not directly impact all of your application, right? So you need to convert into binary, and you need to put all of your code in some particular location. Like if it is Java in USR, share, local, Tomcat, web apps. So you'll compile this. Compile building tools should be there, Maven, Ant, or Gradle, or web apps. You'll try to put your var files. When you compile, you'll try to get jar files, var files, or EAR files. And that one you'll try to keep in this location, and you'll try to start the service in Linux background. So application gets reflected. So here MySQL would be there, MongoDB, MariaDB, and lot many databases would be there, and catchy redis would be there. And this is as well Linux itself, Linux server. You'll try to install some packages on this, and you'll try to call it as a Linux. So whenever you request anything, what happens, it tries to in here, like in google.com, sorry, here like google.com, if you type, what happens is your request goes with DNS, like DNS queries would be there, ISP would be there, OSA layer would be there, from top to application servers to other things like TCP, UDP protocols would be there. Lot many things will happen in between a nearby ISP, DNS queries, and further root level domains .com.in, and it gets ultimately whenever you request any particular thing. Let us assume I am the owner of Swiggy, and I have deployed my application, how it need to be worked and what need to be worked. All the things I'll divide like a feature, and I'll try to put it over these servers. So whenever end user hits any of the requests, the response comes from here, this server. This server request comes and response goes. Okay. So it goes and speaks on databases, multiple tables will be there. Okay. Stored procedures would be there, which table need to be talked with, invoice tables would be there, payment integration tables would be there, stored procedures would be there. Lot much of coding will be there. So ultimately it gets the response from here. So code, whenever the code change, ultimately we need to deploy our code, deploy in the sense copy our code in some locations in Linux machines. In Linux machines itself, if it need to be worked as an application where logic, you'll try to have like Python, you'll keep in centralized location called Bitbucket or anything, you'll pull the code into application servers. Directly in Linux servers, we'll be not able to write the code. We'll use Windows machines like Visual Studio Code or Atom or anything, and you'll try to write there, and you'll try to upload there. And again, you will drag it from here in application servers using some clone commands, and you'll put your code, and you'll start running all of these things. But yeah, I don't want to dig very deeply. Understand the things in a very minimal amount. You don't need to understand this any of this concept, as of now. You'll try to get a complete idea while we are winding up this course. We'll try to install all of our application servers, what are all were there, and what are all we need to install. We'll try to install Nginx, everything on Linux, whatever there. Databases as well, we'll try to install. I'll try to install MongoDB, MariaDB, MySQL, Postgres, Aurora DB. all the things I'll try to install. Ultimately, you need to know Linux commands for that, and you'll not be able, we'll try to use CLI version of the Linux, and it can be, so you can have a number of things in order to have, like you can have uh, this is a Linux server installations you can have in a number of ways. You will have ISO image of all of your Linux, and you need to download and you need to install if you are working on alone. Okay. And if you are okay, you can use virtual box or anything, or you can crack, or you can use cloud, or you can virtual box you need to download. I'll try to tell how we need to download, how we are making partitions, everything. You can make specific amount, even not giving entire things. For home, I need this particular things. For everything, directories structure will be different in Linux. And if you in organizations on a general note, how they will try to do it, they'll try to have multiple systems. So they'll use one particular server, and they'll try to install some PCX components, and they'll try to install some DHCP servers, DHCP in the sense Linux server itself. And they'll try to install some packages, and you'll have network card, and they'll try to hit it from this particular things, they'll integrate, and all the systems your Linux Red Hat would be installed. You no need to understand all of these things, this as well. But we'll try to launch majorly on cloud itself, because you'll try to learn on premises server maintenance. Anyway, they'll try to give you, whenever you go into organization, they'll try to give you these missions and IPs itself, and DHCP server will assign IPs for you. Okay, what you can search, what is DHCP? DHCP is nothing but which tries to allocate IP for you, and this is nothing but, and DNS is nothing but name of it tries to give you the name. Okay, like domain server, we'll call it as domain name server system, sorry, domain name system, I guess. Yeah. So they'll try to install in this way. This is network installation, this is manual installations, everything. But ultimately, Linux will try to launch over cloud using Azure or AWS or any other thing, any cloud. GCP, you can install GCP, you can use, or online compilers you can use to practice, or you can use mobiles as well. There were apps that you can practice the things, but I suggest you to practice in the system. Please don't mind with all of these things. On a generic idea, in order for you to get how the industry is working, what are all the things, what layers you'll have. I told all of these things. You know need this history as well. Who has invented this Linux? Linux is a kernel or operating system. You no need to understand anything. Ultimately, Linux is an operating system, and which has various flavors. Red Hat is a major one which gives the particular support. Like Red Hat Linux operating system, we'll try to use in all of our industry, and we'll try to deploy our applications in Linux servers. Applications, we'll try to, this is what you can understand. That's it. And we'll try to understand the Linux hierarchy, everything from tomorrow. How here in this Windows, you'll have the directory like C, D, and everything, right? In Linux, you'll have a root level. Linux is been designed from root in the sense a tree root, right? Branch will have multiple things. In that context, they had designed multiple wings would be there under this root, multiple branches, I mean, and each branch will have some decent meaning. You need to understand this meaning. Half of your Linux will be completed. Like once you understand, because people were not understanding, they were using Linux and which directory. Yeah, we'll talk this about detail. But as of now, you can assume Linux is an operating system at a server level, where you will try to keep all of your compiled output and executable output in one location so that your applications will run. A compiled output or executable output, even you can assume ones and zeros if you are unable to understand. We'll try to compile, we'll try to make all of our code which system can understand, and we'll try to host our applications. We'll develop our mobile applications and web applications, and this idea clients will give you. So if you have a decent thought, yeah, like Swiggy or anything like e-commerce or anything, we can design that. You need to have one front end, we need to have one backend developer, database, DBA database admin, we can develop. So in order to develop this, we need this Linux machine. It is not mandatory to host all of our applications in Linux servers. You can use Windows servers as well. But majorly the market is all about, they'll host all the things in majorly the Linux itself, Linux platforms itself, they'll host because of the security, because of the speed. We'll have lot many, like in Linux machines itself, A and ML, they'll have 128 GB of RAM, 64 GB of RAM, 512 GB of RAM, 256 GB of RAM, and lot much of hard disk they'll try to take, and speed will be very much high when you compare with Windows. The Linux speed is very much, when you give an input within fraction of seconds you'll get output. So industry is all about working, I mean looking for the people who has decent amount knowledge in Linux. Windows admin as well you can become. You have decent opportunities in Windows admin as well, you can see. Okay, Windows admin jobs will be also there, but it majorly Linux openings will be very much, and Windows is very much easy. Windows operating system is very much simple, and you can manage everything from UI itself directly, like deleting the logs. You'll have some basic from UI itself, you can do all of those things. But yeah, basically, when compared to the job level programs with respect to Windows, you'll have 10 times jobs greater than in Linux. That's the reason. Yeah, and we'll try to use Amazon AWS or Azure account. Please try to have all of your accounts. And from tomorrow, we'll try to understand the directory structure itself. What is root? What is server? What is public IP? What is private IP? How, what is everything from scratch? We'll try to see. Today class, I just want to help you out about the Linux concepts itself. What is a server? So whenever you request anything, you will get a response. From where you will get that response? From server. Even in ATM, sometimes you will get an error code, error things, because, and even when you try to type results, right, your servers will not be able to respond because of huge traffic, multiple hits. We'll call it as TPS, transactions per second in real time. Yeah, if multiple people, DDoS attacks will be calling denial of service attacks. So Flipkart might be doing some of the DDoS attacks to Amazon. Even if the use is not there, they'll try to hit continuously Amazon. They'll try to write some of the shell scripts or any scripts, and they'll hit the URL amazon.com again and again with multiple scripts from multiple systems to break down the business. So for what I have told this, denial, DDoS or yeah, sorry, I don't know. Yeah, this will happen. You'll use firewalls to protect all of those things, IP tables, everything. Linux server where you'll try to do you anyone is understanding anything? Like if they have any doubts, they can let me know if they are understanding anything or not. Try to be bit patient. In the day one itself, you might not be able to understand everything, but these were all not at all necessary. Not at all necessary for you all. Hello, can anyone speak? Am I being very fast or Jansi? Gautam?
Yes, bro. Tell me.
Yeah, are you getting anything?
Yes, bro. I can understand. It is basic level, no? Some confusion is there. Okay, we will see further.
Yeah, you don't need to understand anything. You understand that Linux is an operating system, which
Okay.
and it is a server, and it gives the response whenever you hit all of your applications. These laptops and computers, what are you are using, these were all not the thing. The servers would be their separate servers, and that servers will give you the response for what are you are all hosting. That can be mobile or web applications. Whenever you give a request, if you are getting a response, in the sense from backend the server is giving the response, that's the reason you are getting the response. uh, you can understand it in this level itself as of now. When we go in detail, in
Okay.
very detail down the line, you will try to understand in detail. Fine, right, Gautam? I'll share this
Okay.
recording. I had already shared to you in private in YouTube. You can check all of your mails. All the mails I had given the access. If you have any if you are unable to see recording, or if you have any doubts, you can reach me out. And going down the line, it will be very simple, and you'll be it is very much interesting. Like you'll have uh, it is very much interesting when you compare to Windows or everything. Once we start doing it, you'll have uh, you'll become very passionate to learn the things. I don't know about others, but yeah, every day you'll try to open the Linux terminal. Ultimately, whenever you go into organizations, you need to make your hands enough dirty. Uh, you will work whatever the stream it might be. I'm damn sure that you will be in any stream. It can be SAP, networking, HANA. Ultimately, you need to deploy your code in servers itself. That is, and serverless you will have in Azure or AWS. Even serverless in the sense, AWS is managing the servers in the backend for you. That in the sense, you are not using Linux servers. That it does not mean that you'll have servers in the background as well. So yeah, Hari, you do you have any doubts? Are you getting anything? Harshita, Hari, Jansi, Satish,
No, Shankar. It's fine.
Jansi. Uh, Everyone can talk because I need to understand, right? Uh, are they understanding or not? We need to move faster or slow. Don't be shy. If you are able to
No, no, no.
understand,
It was understandable. No problem.
yeah. Jansi,
Yeah, it's okay. I'm understanding.
yeah. Please try to be open, everyone. I'm trying to say, because here itself you are not able to speak. You need to speak with managers and lot many people in the organization. People do this who don't know anything, who has 15 years and 20 years of experience. They portray the things that they are doing well because of their talking power. So you need to talk, and you need to know the things, like let the other people know like what the issues that you are facing. Yeah, fine, that's all I had from my end. Tomorrow, let me go in a very slow manner for 3 or 4 days. Further, I'll try to increase the base and speed, because I don't know who are all coming from non-IT